Back on CBS Sports HQ, and Aaron Rodgers is back for another season in the NFL. It's been a rough go since his last run with the Packers in 22. Of course, tore his Achilles in Game 1 of 23, and the Jets were, pretty bad in 2024. But over the weekend, Aaron Rodgers passed his physical and then signed a one-year contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers, $10 million guaranteed, a chance to reach 19.5 if he hits all of his incentives. Elsewhere, four-time Pro Bowl running back Nick Chubb expected to sign with the Houston Texans after passing a physical there. The Texans have been looking to pair someone with Joe Mixon, who rushed for over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns last season. They just didn't get much production from the position outside of that. Enter the longtime Cleveland Browns running back Chubb. And the Green Bay Packers expected to part ways with Jaire Alexander, informing the veteran cornerback Monday of their intent to release him. The two-time All-Pro was the highest paid cornerback in the league when he signed a 4-year extension just 2 years ago, but injuries and other things have limited him to about half the team's games since the start of the 2021 season. All right, NFL free agency with the vets really starting to pick up now. We say hello to CBS Sports NFL writer Ryan Wilson. Ryan, great to see you as always. Free agency can be great, and it can also be nerve-wracking. It could be a lot of things depending on the player and the teams involved. Jaire Alexander, high-end talent, spotty availability in recent years due to injuries. Where could you see him landing?
Hey, Russ, good to see you. And you're exactly right about the spotty availability. The last 2 years, he played in 7 games, only each of those 2 seasons, 23-24. But that doesn't mean there will not be a market for him, and perhaps a favorite landing spot might be the Miami Dolphins, because we certainly have the impression that Jalen Ramsey will not be long for Miami and South Beach. Maybe he gets reunited with the Rams in L.A. We'll find out together. But without a starting cornerback, Jaire Alexander would certainly make a ton of sense down in South Florida. They have Kader Kohou, who's been really good, primarily out of the slot. And then after that, if Jalen Ramsey leaves, you're talking about Cam Smith, the former second-round pick, who's been on and off in terms of consistency, and then Jason Marshall Jr., who they just drafted. I don't know if you want to put him into a starting role. So I like the idea of Jaire making his way to Miami.
All right, now you got Asante Samuel Jr., another guy, limited to 4 games in 24, thanks to off-season shoulder and neck surgery. What's the market look like for the former Chargers corner?
And again, the injuries have been the concern, and that's why he's still available, because when he's healthy, he's really good. Obviously, his dad was a fantastic player in the early aughts with the New England Patriots when he won those Super Bowls. But I think the 49ers make a ton of sense. Robert Saleh's back as defensive coordinator there. The zone scheme fits what Asante Samuel does well. He can play in the slot. He can play outside if you need him to, but I think the slot would be where you would want to target him. They have Deommodore Lenoir, who's been really good. They just re-upped his deal. Ronaldo Green, the rookie last year, is going to have a chance to start this year after a strong season. And they drafted Upton Stout, so that's an opportunity for him to play as well. But I think if you're looking for depth, and if he can stay healthy, there's an opportunity for him to have a big season based on what we saw early in his career when he was, in fact, able to stay on the field in L.A.
Now, we got a thread running through this whole segment. It's high-end talents, injury concerns. Running back J.K. Dobbins, another one. Met with the Broncos recently, left without a deal. Who else could be in the market for another former Charger here?
Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys come to mind immediately, but I will give the Fighting Jerry Joneses some credit. They signed Javonte Williams in free agency. They got Miles Sanders, and they drafted Jaden Blue. So the room is a little deeper than it was 12 months ago at this time. But I still think there's room for improvement. And J.K. Dobbins proved last year that if he's healthy, he can still contribute at a pretty high level. But as you know, Russ, it's all about keeping these guys healthy. And, we talk about running backs being a fungible position. On some level, maybe that's true. But I think J.K. Dobbins, if he can stay on the field, gives you the player that we saw glimpses of last year, and certainly the high-end talent we saw in Baltimore before he got hurt.
All right, let's keep this rolling with former Chargers, I guess. Keenan Allen, 60 or more catches in 8 straight seasons. His time Chicago is up. Who could use this 33-year-old pass catcher?
You can never go home again unless you go home again, Russ. What about the Chargers, the team that drafted him out of Cal, the former second-round pick? And look, Quentin Johnston has gotten a little incrementally better each and every year as a former first-round pick. Last year, Ladd McConkey, the second-round pick, went absolutely crazy, and I think he's going to continue to grow into that role. And they have Mike Williams, their former first-round pick. They brought him back into town. You can't go home again, too, if you're Mike W. And I think Keenan Allen provides so much consistency in the middle of the field in terms of patrolling the in-between the hashes, if you will. At this point, he's not going to win any foot races, but I think he gives you that security blanket if you're Justin Herbert, who obviously has some familiarity familiarity with the former L.A. Charger.
Let's stick with another receiver. 9 full seasons, Amari Cooper has reached 1,000 receiving yards 7 times. Played with the Bills and Browns last season. Where does it look like he's going to end up in 2025?
Yeah, Russ, it's somewhat surprising that he's still available. But again, there's been no urgency and movement towards some of these players. Amari's one of them. But I think the Cardinals make a lot of sense. They have Marvin Harrison Jr., who was actually really good last year. When we look back, his numbers were perhaps better than we thought they were in real time. They do have Michael Wilson on the roster and Zay Jones, and those are going to be the 3 primary starters. But there is room in that wide receiver room for more talent. And certainly someone like Amari Cooper, who's such a fantastic route runner, even if he's not as fast as he once was, doesn't make a lot of noise, does what he's asked to do, and is consistently finding ways to get open, at least prior to last season. But I think he has a chance to recapture some of that on a team like Arizona, where he won't have to be the first or even the second fiddle in that offense with Kyler Murray.
All right, Ryan, throwing a lot at you here. I got one more. 36-year-old Von Miller. He wants to play in 2025. The Bills released him to create some cap space, and they're also pretty stocked there on the edge. Where's a viable landing spot for a guy like Von Miller?
So I wrote down 2 things in terms of a viable landing spot. A team with Super Bowl aspirations and a team that needs a designated pass rusher. And that brings me to the Philadelphia Eagles. And I don't know if there's a better landing spot for any free agent on planet Earth than the Philadelphia Eagles, because they are not lacking at many positions, and they have a lot of young talent at the edge rush position. We know about Nolan Smith Jr. We know about Jalen Hunt, the former 3rd-round pick, who was flash at times. They have Azeez Ojulari, who they signed. He's struggled with injuries. And Josh Uche is one of the other veteran edge rushers. But there's room for Von Miller in that room, because we know Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator, likes to get home with rushing 4 and letting the other guys play on the back end. And I think Von Miller still has some juice if you need him for 15 or 20 snaps a game just to get after the quarterback on 3rd down. And he can win one-on-one matchups even at his quote-unquote advanced age.
A lot of veteran talent out there for the taking on the free agent market. Ryan Wilson, thanks so much. Good to talk to you.